Hello everybody, welcome to Little Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel and drop a like. We are trying to hit 25,000 subscribers, so your subscription would be much appreciated. So the Knicks and Pistons just played their third game, and the Knicks came out with a victory. Weird end to that game, kind of was prolonged forever, but they end up winning 118 to 116. The very end of the game was especially weird. Hopefully we'll try and talk about that. I streamed this game with my friend Desmond, who is a Knicks fan. We had a very good time. And the Knicks strike back in this one. I was afraid for a little bit in there that the Pistons were going to fold and just outright lose badly, and there was a stretch there where it looked very possible. After Josh Hart hit a buzzer-beating putback layup, it was kind of, I really felt bad about that. And then Tim Hardaway Jr. missed a wide-open three in the fourth quarter after the Pistons started making a comeback, and I really thought they were out of it then. And then they got to like a 6-point game, and then Malik Beasley hit a fucking three. I was like, oh, I guess they are still in this. And then there was Jalen Brunson. It was a 2-point game. Jalen Brunson misses the third free throw on purpose, or the free throw to make it 3 on purpose. But based on the clock, the 0.5 seconds, I thought the rule was after it hits the rim, the ball is live, but apparently it's after you touch the ball. There's not a lot of instances where you encounter that because usually players are not waiting so fucking long to touch the ball. But like every Piston jumped in the air and kind of watched it go down because they were trying to be like timely with hitting the timeout as soon as they touched it because they had 0.5 seconds left, but nothing came of it because Jalen Duren threw the pass into the backcourt, and that is the unfortunate element of this. The odds that Cade was going to hit the shot that he was going to get there is not particularly high, but it is better than turning it over. That is for sure. What sucks, though, is that Duren did have a great game, and he's probably going to be mostly accredited for this turnover, and that alone, which sucks. But he had 16 and 8 in this one. Really big in the third quarter, especially. I think he scored double digits in the third. Dennis Schroeder, good once again. I feel like he's going to have a statue outside of Detroit at a certain point here. Tim Hardaway Jr. got a bounce back game, hit 7 3-pointers in this one. Really night and day on off, like versus game to game, because he was fucking terrible in game 2 and he was great in game 1 and game 3. OG Anunoby actually had a pretty damn similar experience. OG wasn't quite as bad as Hardaway in game 2. However, he was not nearly as good as he was in this game and in game 1, where I believe he had 26 in game 1. He has 22 in this one, 7 of 17. Not the greatest efficiency, but more than good enough. Mikal Bridges could not miss any of his fucking mid-range shots in this game. He also shot 50% on 6 threes. And Cat with 31 points. Now, I think the big thing that made the difference for the New York Knicks in this game is they didn't just do Brunson ball. They weren't just like, okay, Jalen, you take us to the promised land. You're shooting the ball every time. You're trying to get fouled every time. We're going to live and die by Jalen Brunson single-handedly carrying us. And I thought it was really stupid because the strength of this Knicks roster is their starting lineup and the depth of scoring that they have, because Cat makes for a damn good second option, and Bridges and OG have a high enough scoring acumen that you can get 20 points out of the both of them, as they did in this one. They combined for 42 points between them, and Cat had 30, Brunson had 30. Like, Brunson can still do a lot of carrying the load. That's a perfectly fine approach, but like, they just decided to go all Brunson in the fourth in that game, and I think it's the reason they lost. And if they didn't do it, they'd probably be up 3-0 in this series. Now, I expected the Knicks to win a game in Detroit. I said that in my prediction after in my Knicks video going into it. I definitely did not think they were going to go down 3-1. And if I had to guess, it would have been this game. And if anything, I think it is a very positive sign for the Pistons that they managed to make this game close, because the Knicks were really on one. They were just in a much better position, much better. Just they played better as a team than they did in game 2, which is the reason that they managed to win this one. I think given that you got between New York's best players, you got 100 points out of your top 4 guys. That is exactly what the Knicks want, but it's also about as dire of a situation, like as bad as it could possibly get for the Pistons. The fact that they lost this game by 2, almost had a chance of making the comeback, would have won it if a few shots just went a little bit differently at the end there. Completely reasonable. You should feel good about it. Like, it would be another thing. Again, this is the same way I felt about this series when the Pistons were going into game 2 is you could lose that game. That's fine. Going down 0-2 in a series where you are playing away on the first 2 games is a normal thing when you have 2 fairly even opponents. And because these opponents are even, that's why I think it'll still be 2-2, and I think the Pistons will win game 4. It just kind of seems like we're getting a back and forth cycle of, oh shit, they came to play and we're kind of lagging behind what made us good before. Now, I don't think the Pistons really had anything go against them that just made them not as good. It's probably Cade's shooting. I think that while you did get 24 out of Hardaway and you did get 16 out of Duren, Beasley was bad. And Tobias Harris was bad. He was 2 for 9. Beasley was 4 for 14. Only really started hitting shots in the fourth quarter, which is better late than never, but not soon enough. I also thought Asar Thompson would be playing more in this series, but it just seems like he's maybe not ready for it. He's super foul prone, not to mention Brunson is very good at drawing them, so that only makes the issue extra worse. In game 2, the Knicks made the switch on Cade to where they're not going to double team him, and that meant he kind of cooked in single coverage a lot of the time, and my understanding of that was that they were just trying to prevent the role players from exceeding the level of play that they typically do, because if you let them see a lot of shots go in early, suddenly they're a lot better of a player throughout the entirety of the game. That was especially the case for Tim Hardaway, because in the first half, Tobias Harris did not exactly he didn't keep the momentum after that first half, that is. But they managed to both slow down Cade Cunningham and not allow too many egregious performances out of the role players. The only one that was really special was Tim Hardaway Jr. with the 7 3-pointers. But beyond that, Dennis Schroeder, 18, based on how he's been playing this series, that's not a crazy amount of points. And even if Duren scoring 16 is the most he scored in this series, it's also not an insane amount of points by any means. So they managed to slow down Cade, and they managed to not allow role players to go off. So that's a great recipe for the defensive end. Even still, they gave up 116 points. And this series, I don't think this has been a close one in terms of, or a high scoring one, rather. If I'm remembering correctly, the box scores are not a lot of 115 plus point games, so we got a bunch of those in this one. The game on Monday, yeah, that was 94-100. And the game on Saturday, oh, that was 123-12. So maybe I was just having game 2 too close to my memory. Either way, good Knicks win. Jalen Brunson was great in the clutch, continuing to make that take age worse and worse. I said I was wrong, but I'm never going to escape it. It is what it is. 1 for 7 shooting from 3. I didn't even notice that. That's definitely a bit much. I'm sure there are going to be some people who call him a foul merchant for the fact that he hit 11 free throws. But honestly, by comparison to game 2, Brunson really reined in the foul baiting. Part of it is just that the teams were not leaning on it. They weren't leaning on it in the same way that they did in the second half of game 2. But nevertheless, it made for a much more enjoyable experience watching him. I wasn't actually getting annoyed a lot of the time. I also got to give credit to Josh Hart, who had a really good impact after I floated the idea that he might be overrated. I wasn't solidly, yes, that's where he's at, but I did have my doubts. Mitchell Robinson, kind of a not as good game after he was really fucking good in his first 2, so that's not good. Oh, there's one last thing I want to talk about. There was one play that I got mad about, and maybe it's my misunderstanding of the rules, but there was a scuffle where Brunson, I believe Schroeder, fell onto each other, and as that was happening, it was definitely Schroeder. The ball got poked loose, and Duren grabbed it. But because technically in one point in that interaction, Brunson and Dennis touched the ball at the same time, they called it a jump ball. But the ball was loose, and the whistle was well after that. So are you determining the play has ended there? I think it was just a split second, and then the ball got loose. As far as I'm concerned, based on my understanding of the rules, that play either should have been a foul on probably Dennis Schroeder, or it's not a fucking jump ball. And Duren won the tip because it was against Jalen Brunson, obviously, but he won it by sending it out of bounds, so that's not exactly winning the tip. Even when you have a tip situation where the disparity between the height is so dramatic, it's still not a guarantee that that ball is going to go where you want it to. So that play pissed me off. I don't think it's the reason that they lost by any means, but it did piss me off and I wanted to complain about it. That is it. Shout out to Nick for editing this video, especially after a Pistons loss, because I'm sure he's not very happy about it, but I think they're going to be fine in this series. I think they're going to win game 4, and I don't know. I really think this is anyone's series. I said that going in, but I picked the Pistons, and that's all that got focused on. It is what it is. Yeah, as this series has gone along, I'm feeling a little less confident in my Pistons pick, but like, again, the fact that they stayed as close in this one as they did, I feel that's commendable because the Knicks were definitely the team with better momentum. Obviously, this was the Pistons' first home playoff game in forever. And for a while, that crowd's power was very palpable. As the Knicks would go on runs, it would kind of slow down. But for the most part, like, I don't know. I think they're going to be fine. I'm sure there's going to be Knicks fans commenting on this one. It's like, oh, you fucking dumbass. Keep doing that if you want. Keep jumping the gun on how a playoff series will end because, I mean, maybe you'll be right about this. Maybe you'll be right about one or the other. But that mentality is one that's going to make you look like a jackass. And I don't have to fight it. I can just wait for it to happen. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks to Nick for editing it, and bye.